All right, welcome once again as we read chapters 14 and 15 today of 2 Samuel. A recap of the previous reading. Nathan the prophet comes to David, presents to him a parable of the rich exploiting the poor. David gets upset. He demands justice, and it turns out that he made his judgment prematurely, perhaps, because the one whom the parable was about was David himself. Nathan told him that things were going to be bad. His household, David's household, was going to be destroyed. It was going to be devastated. The child that he had gotten pregnant with Bathsheba, was not going to survive this, and David became very repentant, hoping he could barter with God. Catastrophe happened. The child died. David was grieving so much. But maybe it was that the reader is hoping that with all the grieving, David's learning his lesson. And then in the next scene, he had been defeated the Ammonites. Maybe things were getting back on track. And then the next chapter, it went awry again, as Amnon, the son of David, raped his half-sister Tamar. David wasn't taking care of his household. Absalom had to get justice for all of that. And so that's where we are. David, not the one who's taking care of the household. But hopefully he's taking care of his people, right? You know, it's maybe he's neglecting his home for the sake of Jerusalem and broader Israel. Maybe that's the hope. And so, you know, as heroic as David had seemed to us, now we may have to start reassessing that. Is David really a hero? We'll see. He's a good leader and warrior in public so far, but he's really not. He doesn't seem to be respected in his home hardly. Ouch. All right, so chapter 14 here. Joab sees that David is missing Absalom. Remember, Absalom's the other son of David who took justice by killing Amnon, and then he fled from David and is hiding out. But David is missing Absalom, or he's wanting to see Absalom, it says, excuse me. Joab is going to devise a plan to get Absalom back. Now, why is Joab doing this? I don't know, but it's occurring to me that everybody else is starting to do more than David. There's a array of characters that are surrounding David now, and they're doing this, that, and the other, and David seems to be doing very little. Joab is going to send this widow to David. Interestingly, hardly seems like a good idea. Tells her to act like she's in mourning. She is going to have a certain dialogue with him. She had two sons that fought and died, and some of the family wants to get vengeance against the other son, but she's protecting him in this family feud because having a son is of a necessity in that culture, and she's telling these stories to David and asking him for help, and he's realizing something is suspicious here. But through all of that process, it gets Absalom home. If David could excuse this one woman's son and give a rite of passage of safety for him, then why wouldn't he do that for his own son? That's kind of the point here. So that's what's going to happen. Absalom is going to return to Jerusalem. It remarks that he's one handsome fellow. He's the most handsome of all the guys there. It says. the dude's got 3 pounds of hair that he's cutting off. I mean, it's something else. But he hasn't seen his father for 2 years. And he doesn't see his father after returning. But as this chapter closes, 14, it's kind of like here, this Absalom is this assertive alpha male. He's handsome, 3-pounded hair. And what is he going to do with all of this opportunity that he has? Being a king's son, and now he's gotten away with something. He's become, maybe it could be read as the dominant force in the family. He's the one that secured the honor for the family. What's he going to do with all this capital? Well, he decides to get up an army. And so I noted some parallels yesterday of what was going on here in 1st and 2nd Samuel, themes that were repeating. Here's a younger Absalom whose relationship has gone awry with the king, which happens to be his father, and he's going to get an army. It sounds a lot like young David, handsome and relationship gone awry with the king, and he's going to have a group of men that follow him and want to serve him and fight for him wherever he goes. And so in this process, Absalom is, more like David's early days. He's becoming the people's king. He's doing things to serve the people. And what's David doing in all of this? Well, we're not seeing anything that David is doing substantially. Absalom is on fire. He's working out this conspiracy to land an insurrection in the kingdom. He's got agents and spies and covert operations happening. He's trying to get his. Eventually, David realizes everyone is on Absalom's side. Not only has he become popular with the people, but with insiders as well. If you're David, how do you let this happen? Remember, a generation ago, they're saying Saul has killed his thousands, David has killed his tens of thousands. And now it seems to be echoes of out with the old and in with the new. The people have lost confidence in David, and he's no longer a warrior. In fact, he's going to avoid a fight. He's going to leave Jerusalem. That's in an honor-shame culture. That's shameful. That's not honor, staying and fighting for what's yours. You're going to retreat. And then Absalom he's even dealing with the Ark of the Covenant here in this chapter. And, so he's kind of doing some of the things that David had did. And so David's been ruling the house, as it were. He got honor in the previous chapter, in chapter 13, over the wrongdoings that were within the house when David didn't step up to secure the family honor. Not only is he ruling David's household now, but he's ruling David's people. This is a saga by now. We get the picture now. David was certainly much better off when he was younger, and when he had no considerable authority, when he was on the run, when he had an enemy. When he lost his enemy, that was the end of him at this point. Curious enough, sounds like Saul. Remember, Saul was the one who was handsome, who was very humble and very low key, and then once he became king, his insecurity really got the best of him. Okay, so with this, I'll end that and meet you again for the next reading. Thank you, everyone.